Introduction. Archaeology, definition and scope. The essence of the archaeology is that it make our world much more meaningful and resourceful. It depends on our understanding and each archaeology site is a part of the document. This document has human activities that are reflected in form of settlements, architectural features and burial monuments. In short, the cultural deposit is an historical document. It attains its significance when the written records are not available or where even writing methods are not invented. Every archaeological site is a document. Archaeologists must take care in retrieving maximum data from the site. To obtain this data, the archaeologists have specific goals. Goals of archaeology. Traditionally, archaeology has been equated with the recovery, analysis, and interpretation of the material remains of the human past. Now, goals of archaeology has been enlarged in an effort to learn more about relation between material culture and human behavior. The man and material relationship is studied through various ethnographic studies. These goals stress the need to establish temporal and spatial control on the materials under study. To achieve this, archaeologists have three principal goals. These goals are: first, to consider the form of archaeological evidence and its distribution in time and space. Second, to determine past functions and thereby construct models of ancient behavior. Third, to delimit the process of culture and determine how and why culture change. The first goal, form, is the description and classification of the material evidence to develop models of artifact assemblage, distribution through time and space. The study of artifact assemblage helps the reconstruct the historical development of the cultural change by building local and regional sequence. The second goal, function, focuses on the uses of various artifacts. This is done based on the study of form. Assisted, it assists to understand the ancient behavior in a given environment. The combined study of form and function helps to reconstruct the past environment through the study of ethnobotanical settlement and subsistence pattern. The third goal, process, cultural process, is an attempt to explain how and why cultural changes through the time based on the study of the material evidence. The study of cultural process is the major goal of new archaeology. The whole cultural process cannot be understood without the involvement of various disciplines like history, anthropology, geology, biology, zoology, physics, chemistry, and so on. The interdisciplinary studies play a vital role in archaeological interpretation. Archaeology and other disciplines. Archaeology tries to rebuild the whole composition of the society by integrating various data drawn from different sources of information like zoology, botany, geology, anthropology, and other science. An attempt is made to give examples on the nature of interdisciplinary studies that are being carried out in archaeological investigation. A. Archaeology and history. The subject matter of archaeology and history is the study of human past. However, there is a basic difference between the two. Archaeology seeks the knowledge of the human past through material remains, whereas history seeks the information through written documents. The change in obtaining the source of information leads to the change in methodology. History does not move beyond the textual sources. Archaeology goes beyond the period of deciphered textual documents. Archaeology tries to unlock the undeciphered script and gives it back to history as written documents. Archaeology also brings out the textual documents that are found on stone, papyrus, pottery, and seal. History tries to rebuild the events of human past through textual sources. Sometimes the scientific and technological advancement made by our ancestors could not be inferred from these sources. For instance, the discovery of great Indus civilization is the result of archaeology. Therefore, the study of archaeology and history is highly complementary in nature. B. Archaeology and anthropology. Archaeology is in fact a subdiscipline of anthropology. Archaeology concentrates on the past human history, whereas anthropology deals on the human activities. The comprehensive study of the human species from biological, social, and cultural perspective is called anthropology. Anthropology is subdivided into physical anthropology, cultural anthropology, and archaeology. The last subdiscipline, archaeology, developed into a separate discipline in recent years. The skeleton remains discovered from excavation are studied by the physical anthropologist to determine the race, age, sex, behavioral pattern, dietary pattern, paleodemography, and other related aspects. The evolution of man and his many manifestations are disconcerned from the study of human fossil discovered from prehistoric deposit. The behavioral aspects like social, linguistic, and other technological components that influence the human behavior are studied in cultural anthropology. The ancient language pattern is studied by historical linguistics, a branch of linguistics. The non-material aspects like belief, faith, ritual, administrative mechanism, social pattern, language, movement, and spread of the language, etc., are discerned by applied anthropological theories. Therefore, physical and cultural anthropology play a vital role in reconstructing the human past. The study of contemporary culture with a view of understand the past behavioral pattern has developed as a new branch of study called ethnoarchaeology. Therefore, the contribution of anthropology to archaeology is manifold. Archaeology and geology. The study of the development of the earth, especially as preserved in the crust formations, is called geology. The first greatest contribution of geology to archaeology is the principle of stratigraphy. Stratigraphy helps to determine the relative dating of the artifacts that found in different cultural levels. The prehistoric archaeology mostly extends on the geological formation, the study of rock, minerals, ores, gemstone, soil, land formation, landscape, river migration, river terrace formation, erosion, deposition, submergence of land mass, raised branches, ancient coastline, and sea level functions all fall in the ambit of geology. Geology helps to understand the various factors that determine the human habitat on the earth. The artifacts discovered, the artifacts recovered from particular geological formation like river terrace provide a relative dating to the site. For instance, the prehistoric tools recovered recovered from the river terrace of Kotaliyar Valley, Old Palar, near Madras, and from Son Valley in Punjab helped to push the appearance of man in India back to million years. Likewise, the different materials used in architectural edifices and port installations cannot be understood without the basic knowledge of geology. D. Archaeology and biology. The scientific advancement made in the field of DNA, the material that carries the hereditary information, revolutionized the study of humanity. The skeletal remains recovered from different archaeological sites are being placed before the test to determine the hereditary traits trails of the past society. For instance, a sample of ancient DNA taken from human skeleton remains can readily be used to determine the sex of a burial. The study of royal burials, for instance, with the mummies of Egyptian pharaohs, make it possible to establish whether mummy A is the mother of mummy B based on mitochondrial DNA, mtDNA, the Y chromosome DNA sample can help to reconstruct the ancestral relationship. The same technique can be applied on the skeleton remains recovered from Harappan site, Chalcolithic site, and Megalithic site. With progress of DNA study, the myth that stands behind various migration theories like the Aryan and Dravidian theory may explode in future. Therefore, molecular biology adds new insights into our understanding of the human populations. Archaeology and geology. Animal remains were the first evidence used by the archaeologists to characterize the paleoclimate. Archaeologists came across numerous animals' bones, faunal remains from archaeological sites. The sites of these faunal remains add to understand the contemporary environment at the time of depo- deposition. These faunal remains are being studied to understand the change in paleo environment of a region, as some of the animal could only live in a particular environment. The archaeological the archaeologist or zoo archaeologist helps the reconstruct certain social parameters like the demonstration of animal diet pattern, husbandry, social status, butchery, trade, etc. through the study of micro and macro funnel remains beside determination of a particular animal bone in a particular cultural context also takes a center stage in archaeological investigations. For instance, the determination of horse bones in Harappan or post-Harappan site occupies a prominent place to recite the migration of Aryans. Archaeology and botany. The study of plant remains recovered from archaeological site is known as archaeobotany. One of the greatest contributions of botany is the study of pollen, a pollenology. Pollen samples in the form of charred grains are being collected in archaeological excavation, particularly in pits, storage bins, granary, and cooking vessels. Microbotanical remains are well preserved in absolute dry environment like in desert, waterlogged regions, and sometimes in volcanic eruption. For instance, Kerala grown black pepper recovered from a Roman desert site at Badenike on the Red Sea helps to reconstruct the maritime contact that had existed between Kerala and the Roman world. The pollen samples recovered from different archaeological sites in varied chronological levels help to reconstruct the ecosystem, the plant communities of a given area that would provide clues to local animals and also reflect soil condition and climate in which man carried on his duty. The introduction of agriculture and change in cultivation pattern could be reconstructed based on pollen analysis. The study of tree rings to determine the date is another important contribution of botany to archaeology. The annual variation in climate conditions are reflected in annual growth of the ring. The growth variation is used as a measure of environmental change. The climatic sensitive microorganism called foraminifera found in deep sea sediments and different levels helps to reconstruct the paleoclimate condition. Archaeology and physics. One of the greatest contributions of physics is the dating method, particularly radiocarbon dating. The various dating methods like radiocarbon dating, TL dating, archaeomagnetic dating, potassium argon dating, fusion track dating, and other are the contribution of physics to archaeology. The absolute dating methods have revolutionized the archaeological interpretation. The series of radiocarbon dating collected from different phases of Harappan deposits help to determine the various phases of Harappan culture. The radiocarbon dates attains in the cultural phase of Hallur and Kumara Nahalli helps to push the introduction of iron in India back to 1300 BC. Likewise, some countries past are rewritten based on the dating, and a welcome light is thrown up on the dark ages among the sciences. Physics are contributed significantly in getting an absolute date for archaeological materials. Archaeology and chemistry. Chemistry plays an important role in the conservation of antiquities and archaeological monuments. The chemical deterioration takes place once the burial object is distributed from its microenvironment. Therefore, cleaning, repairing, and stabilizing the artifacts fall in the hands of conservationists. Conservationist, the application of various chemicals, particularly preservatives, are works of the chemist. The dating methods like amino acid racemization, nitrogen and fluorine tests are determined based on the chemical properties found in the archaeological material. The preservation of rock paintings, fresco paintings, palm leaf manuscripts, rare paper manuscripts, bronze objects, cleaning of monuments, etc., are being carried out at the advice of conservationists. Therefore, the contribution of chemistry in the preservation of various historical documents cannot be underestimated. Besides, these are numerous branches of sciences like oceanography, remote sensing, geographical information system, microbiology, metallurgy, computer, and other newly emerging disciplines. They are all contributing enormously to reconstruct the human past most effectively and authentically. The growth of science had a direct impact on the growth of archaeology. The path-breaking invention made in different disciplines of science from time to time indirectly helped to the development of different kinds of archaeology. Kinds of archaeology. Until recently, the archaeology discipline taught in different universities may conventionally be divided into classical archaeology, prehistoric archaeology, and historical archaeology. Today, the goals of archaeology have changed greatly owing to the development in science. For instance, the studies of human ecology changed the views of archaeology. It is appropriate to outline some of the features that existed in the goals of various subdisciplines of archaeology. A. Classical archaeology. Classical archaeology is the one which deals with the classical period. Archaeologists who specialize in classical period are known as classical archaeologists. They are generally art historians who use the methods and techniques to recover the art and architectural remains of classical civilization. Classical archaeologists take advantage of the ancient written records and text in Sumerian, Egyptian, Greek, and Latin to understand these ancient civilizations. By nature, classical archaeologists focus on details of architecture, recovery of art objects, and tracing of art and architectural themes and the development of written language. So the concentrate mostly on the places, temples, theatres, and royal cemeteries. Though their study is so limited, archaeology today owes much to classical archaeologists for deciphering ancient scripts, thus opening new fields of awareness and the understanding of the classical world. Due to their outstanding revelation of the classical world, the development of conservation and restoration techniques for the architecture, fresco, and other artifacts took place. Prehistoric archaeology. The term prehistory was coined by Daniel Wilson, though Tornall had used the term prehistoric as early as 1833. In 1851, in the book The Archaeology and Prehistory Annals of Scotland, it covers the story of man's development before the appearance of writing. However, the term is used differently due to the varied nature of the cultural material. In Mesopotamia and Egypt, the recorded history starts from 6000 years BP, but in India, it's a start with Brahmi inscriptions with inscription of 3rd century BC, as the Indus scripts are yet to be deciphered satisfactorily. In some parts of the world, recorded history did not appear until the 20th century. Therefore, the demarcation between the prehistory and history varies from region to region. In Indian context, quite often the term proto-history is being used. It denotes a period following prehistory and preceding the appearance of coherent history derived from written records. The period of Harappan culture, Chalcolithic culture, and Megalithic culture fall under the category of proto-history. The remaining culture period, namely Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic culture, falls in the ambit of prehistory. C. Historical archaeology. In global context, historical archaeology is the study of colonial and post-colonial settlements. In Indian context, particularly in the post-independence era, historical archaeology generally confines to the study of dynastic imprints. Among the broad topics covered under historical archaeology are the remains of historical sites, settlements, places, forts, sites of historical events such as battlefield, trade centers, temples, mosques, churches, etc. These were investigated mostly using the methods and techniques of archaeology but cross-checked with the significant evidences like inscriptions, coins, copper plates, and manuscripts. Historical archaeology has a great potential for testing archaeological theories as they provided verifiable documents to understand the process of cultural change. They mostly involved historical events rather than in ecological substance and functional or socio-cultural problem. In India, the identification of historical places mentioned in literature was initiated as early as the 18th century. James Reynolds' memoir of a map of Hindustan and Alexander Cunningham's The Ancient Geography of India, 1871, stand as a fine example of such studies. Both have made an extensive use of the Indian literature in addition to the foreign travelers' account of Ptolemy, Fahian, and Huensang. The identification of historical sites like Takshila, Koshambi, Vaisali, Nalanda, and others are the fine example of such studies. Based on epics, Pali literature, Sangam literature, and Brahmi inscription, quite numbers of sites like Hastinapur, Nagarjunikonda, Sannathi, Brahmagiri, Arikamedu, Urayur, Kodumanal, etc. were identified. The excavation of these places remains of Patliputra Stupa at Nagarjunikonda, port installation in Kaviripatnam, tank at Srivengapuram, habitation sites of Kodumanal, Alanga, Alangan, Kulam, Karur, Urayur, and Arikamedu in Tamil Nadu gave a valuable insights into the plan and layout of the cities and their role in the maritime trade. Historical documents record only specific kinds of information about the past, and oral studies are sometimes affected by faded recollections over time. Archaeology can be used to test the information known from historical source and can provide a more complete documentation and understanding of historical events. Therefore, historical archaeology has a great potential for testing anthropological and archaeological theories. D. Environmental archaeology. In the past, a study of the environmental relating to archaeological site has been peripheral and many cases it is completely ignored. These attributes, these attitudes are now changing. Archaeologists started paying much attention to the ecological factor as determines the life of the people. The technique of recovering and interpreting environmental evidences are being rapidly developed. Paleo environments are seen to be crucial for the full understanding of the sitting and food economy and the exploitation of the surroundings. The environment is the crucial importance to archaeology as it has a greater influence over mankind. Environmental archaeologists started taking the factors like latitude, altitude, landforms, natural resource, drainage system, geology, climate, and other similar factors which in turn govern the human life. Every artifact is recorded and studied in given ecozones. They started reconstructing the past human life and climate drawn from different sources of information such as study of ancient coastlines, submerged land surface, raised beaches, paleo channels, pollen analysis, fossil and animals bones. Initially, most of the excavations were carried out to bring the cultural sequence of the sites. Now it is realized that excavated sites contains a wealth of biological evidence. It can add another dimension to the understanding of the sites and its region of properly interpreted. It provides enormous information about contemporary flora and fauna, pests, diseases, climate, and weather. The analysis of seeds, molluscs, insects, and bones of the smaller mammals, birds, and fishes can produce quantity of material from the excavation. The extraction of pollen would supplement the information. The weight sieving and flotation method served as useful technique in the sea of research. As in all other methods, the larger and more representative samples would provide valid results. The evidence acquired from the evidence acquired from environmental archaeology would help to understand their economy, the character of housing, and major changes in the climate. The change in flora and fauna may be paralleled with the increase in domesticated animals and vice versa. Thus, archaeologists now strive to understand the paleo environment in order to access the essential variable that might have influenced the operation of cultural system. E. Settlement archaeology. Settlement archaeology is the study of the spatial, spatial distribution of an ancient human activities and occupation, ranging from the differential location activities within a single room to the arrangements of sites in a region. They are concerned with locational information. Settlement studies use features and sites as their principal database. The spatial patterning of archaeological features is analyzed in order to reconstruct past decisions regarding use of environment, allocation of natural resources, ritual pattern, social relationship, and other related matters. This spatial pattern is analyzed on three levels. The smallest level is that of activities observed on a single occupation surface like cave dwellings. The second, intermediate level deals on the activities within a site. The third largest scale studies examine the distribution of site within a region. In the first level of human settlement, the nature of specific activities like cooking area, ritual area, and craft production center is reconstructed based on the remains like hearths, grinding stones, furnaces, storage pits, altars, etc. In the second level, the site is analyzed to get the social stratification. For instance, the presence of citadel and lower town within a Harappan settlements serves as fine example to identify the social stratification. Besides social stratification, role differentiation and economic specialization can also be studied by using the data. For example, and Kodum Manal bead making centers are located in the central and northern part of the mound, and the iron production center were identified in the southern part of the habitation. At the large scale level, the archaeologists consider the distribution of site within a region. In this, the various factors involved in making the settlements like the capital city or trade centers or port town within a region are studied. The identification of potential resources like water, minerals, fertility of the soil, and similar resources would be examined on a regional basis. If Cognitive archaeology is one of the newer branches of modern archaeology. It is the study of past ways of thought from material remains. The cognitive archaeologist systematically studies the material remains like measurements, planning, means of organization and power, cult activity, and the whole artistic depiction of understand the ancient thought. For instance, they investigate the manner in which people conceived of the supernatural and how they responded to these conceptions in their cult practice. G. Industrial archaeology. The primary goal of the industrial archaeology is the precise of the standing monuments. The various engineering skills in these monuments are studied. The techniques and skills is industrial archaeology require training in engineering, architecture, and architectural history. The study of double dome of Taj Mahal at Agra, whispering gallery of Gol Gumbaj at Bijapur, hollow vimana of Brideshwar temple at Tanjavur, and other similar engineering excellence are some of the fine examples to recall. The metallurgical study of rust-free iron pillar at Delhi stand among the fine pieces of industrial archaeology. H. Underwater archaeology. The branch of study is also known as nautical archaeology and marine archaeology. Presently, underwater archaeology concentrates more on shipwrecks and submerged ports and cities. The goals of underwater archaeology are often historical in orientation. The shipwreck is considered as time capsule as they provided an important clue on the trade and technology of the specific period. The subject matter of this recent discipline extends to studies of ancient trade, commerce, shipbuilding, technology, navigation, etc. The discovery and retrieving of King Henry III's Meridos and the Titanic are considered as one of the remarkable achievements in the field of underwater archaeology. The discovery of Dwarka of Gujarat coast and the celebrated early historic port of Kaveri by the National Institute of Oceanography under the direction of S.R. Rao are some of the important works undertaken in India. It is interdisciplinary study undertaken by archaeologists with the active cooperation of oceanographers and geophysicists with the view of reconstruct the history of shipbuilding, overseas trade, and interaction of cultures. At the same time, it generates data of scientific and educational value in respect of statistics studies and coastal erosion. The effect of environmental on perishable and non-perishable material is better understood by a study of datable finds from submerged archaeological sites and from shipwrecks. I. Ethnoarchaeology. Archaeologists in the recent decades have developed a new branch of study called ethnoarchaeology. Ethnoarchaeology is the study of living peoples and their material culture undertaken with the aim of improving our understanding of the past. Like ethnographers, archaeologists are used to live among contemporary communities with a specific purpose of understanding their material culture, like how they make stone tools, build house, to agriculture, and so on. For instance, the study undertaken by Lewis Binford by living among the Nunamist Eskimo of Alaska gave him way to new ideas in interpreting archaeological data collecting from that region. The study of traditional bead making centers of Khambat in Gujarat and Kangyanam in Tamil Nadu yielded a useful data on understanding the technology involved in making of various beads that we recovered from archaeological sites. J. Linguistic archaeology. Linguistic archaeology is the study of language and script in the backdrop archaeological to identify cultural identities like the race, migration, ecology, philosophy, and religion. The epigraphical records found on metal, stone, and manuscripts are studied in order to understand the material remains of a particular region. For instance, in India, painted grey ware is associated with Aryans and megalithic monuments are associated with Dravidians. Recently, the cultural materials that are found on the banks of river Saraswati are associated with Aryans. Guntur Kusina connected the coded ware with Indo-European language, which later led to identify Germany as the homeland of Indo-European language. The identification led to emergence of purist theory, which was totally exploited by Hitler in the modern world, giving a linguistic affinity to a particular community and identifying the archaeological remains with that particular people are still doing in the corner. Rescue and salvage archaeology. Salvage archaeology is method of retrieving the data from archaeological sites which are under threat. The vast urbanization, proliferation of industrial activities, establishment of new motorways, extraction of earth and construction of dams have developed into potential threat to the archaeologist site. Under these under these circumstances, archaeologists are asked to excavate the site in short period. There is a constant debate against such preservation of cultural heritage and development. However, it is often argued that the any information rescued from a site about to destroy is better than none. There are numbers of arguments placed for and against the salvage archaeology. Generally, the excavation is carried out under pressure and the excavator is running short of time. Therefore, they argue that the any data obtained from the excavation is misleading and unverifiable. Nagarjunikonda, Sri Sailam, and Kodumanal are best sites to indicate one of the value of salvage archaeology. These sites are submerged now beyond the reach of archaeologists. Spade work due to the construction of dam across the river. Therefore, archaeologists are asked to preserve this site in short period. For instance, these whole archaeological monuments like temple, stupas, chaityas, and other similar monuments found in the submergence area of Nagarjunikonda and Sri Sailam have been transplanted to a safer area. I. Public archaeology. Public archaeology is one of the emergence area which aims at educating and involving the common public to create awareness about their past. The aim of the archaeology is to provide information, knowledge, and insight into the human past. This is not for benefit of the archaeologist alone but the society at large. Opening archaeological materials and discoveries discourses outside the professional fraternity of archaeologists is the main aim of the public archaeology. Apart from providing more accessible to visual experience and interpretative tools for lay audience, the archaeologist should educate the people by opening up the museums, arranging archaeological tour, providing the preserved cultural wealth that bring the marginalized society into the mainstream. It is responsibility of the archaeologist to meet the needs of society as society extensively finance archaeologist. Cultural resource management (CRM). An important shift in archaeological thought has emerged in recent past years. So far, archaeological sites are narrowly viewed as a place for excavation. The archaeological remains that are encountered at this site are primarily used to fill the cultural or historical gap in the long history of nation. Now, attaining is turned as a assess the significance of the site concerning the nation's archaeological heritage. The result of emergence of new sub-area of archaeology, namely cultural resource management (CRM) archaeology. Various organizations like UNESCO are taking active part in preserving the worldwide archaeological heritage. In recent years, the archaeological sources like inscriptions, coins, architectural edifices, sculptures, painting, and artifacts recovered from archaeological diggings gains in importance. Archaeologists can greatly expand the nature of sources and they can provide hitherto a pervasive dimension of the historical landscape. Modern archaeology moves beyond the conventional work of searching for historical events to man-land relationship thought the handling of environmental data. Thank you so much. Next class, history of archaeology, will be started on the next day.